Greetings, fellow professor. My name is Gary Grumens. I'm one of the instructors for ED 779 Values in Education. In this brief introduction to the course, what I want to do is let you know how this particular course was constructed. We have several people who teach this course, and everybody has their own unique way of going about things. And what I wanted to do was draw attention to those things that I found important to teach in this class and the way that I went about teaching it. I've taught this course now for about 8 years, and over the years have discovered what works for me and what doesn't work, and this particular shell is a result of those things that I have found that have worked. So in creating the shell, the introduction is pretty standard, pretty typical. But what I've done in this course, and you'll see this throughout, is I've created a number of videos myself, which I've uploaded to YouTube and then either embed in the course or provide the link. I used Camtasia. I'm very happy with it. I would highly recommend it for you to purchase purchase the program. It's not that expensive, but it is so easy to use once you get the hang of it, and so easy to make a video that you can upload to YouTube. It does it automatically for you, and then you can get the link and embed it in either a link or embed the video or create the link. So you'll see that introduction to the course. You can go ahead, and I created a PowerPoint. I've done this a number of times where I created the PowerPoint. I'll ghost the PowerPoint, which means only you can see it. You can open it, modify it, or discard it if you'd like, but it's the PowerPoint that I use to create the video above it. You'll see the course resources, the syllabus, the reading materials, and this ideological framework, which is an important activity for the students to complete. And when they download it, they will see the template organized this way: aims of education, view of learning, view of the learner, and view of knowledge. And there'll be instructions on the very first time they do this activity, so I'm not going to go into detail here. But this then becomes the way in which the students interact with the person they're reading and what the areas that they will focus on. Obviously, each of these readers had a lot to say, but we want to at least draw these 4 themes out of each individual thinker that we read, and then this becomes the foundation for the personal philosophy paper at the end, and we'll go over that in just a minute. So you will see the framework here, and for this activity, as you'll see also with the reading activity, all they will do is download the template or download the reading guide, complete it on their own, and copy and paste it into the assignment. Very easy for them to learn how to do that. I really haven't had much trouble with students figuring that part out. And it also makes it easy for me to grade. I'm not downloading individual files, and that gets to be very tedious. So you'll see then the 16 weeks, I do go through the university break. The reason for that is I want to have this, which is the 15th week of the semester, I want to have this last week for them to actually complete the final paper. And they need all that time. You'll see I introduce that in week 11 and complete it in week 16. And it's such an important activity, I want to make sure they have enough time to be able to complete it. Week 1 for the course gives a little bit more instruction than weeks 2 and following, but you'll see in week 1 when they actually start doing the work, we start right in by reading Meno, and I know some professors go about it a little bit differently. I like starting right with Meno. I think it's accessible with the reading guide. I think it's accessible. It's a bit of a stretch, but they get used to reading the material in primary sources. The particular focus of Meno fits in nicely with what we're talking about in the course. Can values be taught? So I started right with that. I give for each week. I give a background or a little timeline of the individual we are reading. And then we have the activity. So what I do is every activity comes with an assignment, and I found over the years that if I don't, students won't do that, won't read that material or view that video. So So sometimes it's very short, like this Why We Study Philosophy, very short video on why we study philosophy and a very short very short response. And if I don't do that, then too often students will power right past it. And also then gives them a chance to process what it is they just read. Let me go to week 2, and you'll get a better idea of how the weeks are organized. Every week I create my own introduction, upload it to YouTube, and then create the link right here. So this week I have Introduction to Plato and Introduction to the Republic, 2 separate videos, one to the philosopher and one to this work that we're reading. And what you'll see is when they actually start doing the assignments, you'll see the first assignment is an introduction assignment. And what I do is I provide some text, but then usually 3 or 4 very short videos. And YouTube is great for creating these. And I would just make sure the link still works. That's happened before where I've found a nice video that for whatever reason the link goes cold. And then I ask them to briefly post what you expect to read that week. And again, I found this to be a very helpful exercise because it provides some of the context for what it is that they're going to be reading. Again, very short. This particular assignment is very short and fairly easy to complete. And again, then when they start reading, they'll have a better idea of the importance of what it is they read. For every week, they have a reading guide that I've created. You're free to use that if you'd like. And what that guide does is it helps them then focus their reading. You will see that there's some questions, and all I ask them to do is to type their answer right underneath the question, and then copy and paste everything into their journal. Makes it easy for me to grade. I can go ahead and take a look and see how well they've answered the questions. I've actually indicated where in the text they can find the answer. 30B, the text is in 2 columns, so A is upper left, B lower right. Sorry, A upper left, B lower left, C upper right, D lower right. And that's where the answer will start. And they can, if they get lost, they can at least know where to go and find the answer to that particular question. So again, the introduction, then they read the material. Then there's always a secondary read. The way the text is divided, you will see that aside from the major philosophers, which is the first part of the book, there'll be articles on contemporary issues. There'll be articles on curriculum and articles on teaching. And so I over the years, have decided not to try and cover everything. I picked articles that I thought were pertinent, interesting, accessible. So in the secondary read, you'll that's where I include those. So that's the reading that they will do. Then there's 2 reflections. One is the ideology, and that's where they go ahead and complete that template I just showed you. I'm not going to go into the details here. The first assignment has all the details on how to complete the ideology and what to look for. And then the last assignment is a personal response. And in this personal response, it's just like it sounds. It's more pertinent to them individually, personally, professionally. As an educator, some themes that I want to actually take and apply to their lives in a very personal way. It is a forum, and they are to write their own response, and then respond to 4 of their classmates, their colleagues, and then they respond to each person who responded to them. And you'll see then in the first week how all that is organized. And I put this calendar here to let them know what a week will look like. So they have until Tuesday to complete the reading. Then the ideology is 2 days later. The personal reflection responds to their colleague, and then responds to their colleagues' responses. Now, I said at the very beginning, the way that I've organized this, and other people have organized it differently, what I found is the personal philosophy paper to be the most helpful. Because what this does is helps them kind of capture everything that they've learned up until now, and summarize that, and then make some applications for themselves. So I want them to make some decisions about what they think about education, the learning process. and their role in education. So what I've done is begin in the 11th week to work on that final paper. Now, I've chosen to not write it ask them to not write it as a research paper. That's not my interest. I want them to write it as an essay, and I give them instructions about how to write an essay, and have them go through and review what it is to write an essay. And there's some videos here on how to do this. Some of these things are right out of high school English, but they're the best videos that I found for my purposes here. You can choose others if you want, or create your own if teaching writing is a strength of yours. But again, I make it an essay because I want them to argue for a particular perspective on things, a particular perspective on the learner. And so I just don't want to summarize everything that I don't want them to summarize everything that everybody has said. I want them to make some decisions about the aim of education, the learner, the learning process, and knowledge. I find that much more helpful. And at the end of the essay, I have them write a concluding statement about their role in education. Where do they see them? What's going to be important to them? They start that in 11th week, and then finally at the very end is when they have the last week to complete that assignment. So that's how this course is organized and it's outlined. You are welcomed to contact me and ask me about particular things, or obviously take the course and modify it any way that you would think best.